Thank you, everyone. My name is Luxley. I appreciate the click, and I want to start by saying that I truly understand and appreciate the sense of accomplishment and excitement surrounding WoW Classic. I'm being genuine, I do understand it and I appreciate it. Ever since Blizzard took a huge risk with Cataclysm and did a complete makeover of the Eastern Kingdom's Kalimdor, there's been an ongoing demand. Matter of fact, it's as big as a movement for something like WoW Classic. That's where it kind of all spawned. 8 or 9 years later, the movement for WoW Classic is a reality, and that is a truly wonderful thing. Not that WoW Classic is out, although that is part of it, but that you took something, you protested for it as opposed to against it, wanted it badly, had a passion for it, pulled the right strings, and got it to be a reality. In a lot of ways, WoW Classic is a commendable accomplishment for the die-hard fans of WoW. And in a lot of ways, I have to admit, it's the realization of a long-term dream. Even the most cynical bone in my body has to look at that and can't help but applaud and appreciate it. After all, Blizzard took a huge risk when they introduced Cataclysm. The kind of risk that really kind of crashed and burned and failed in the long term. But I'm going to make a very strong argument in another video about why whatever XPAC follows BFA needs to have that same spirit of risk to really change things and change things for the better. But that's another video for another time. Now, when Cataclysm came out, we all know it redesigned the leveling zones 1 through 60, retooled the quests, and really kind of changed the overall theme of World of Warcraft. Some may argue the changes from Cata were for the better. Some may argue the changes from Cata were for the worse. I tend to see the benefits of both and land somewhere in the middle. That's where my parachute lands. That's where I kind of hit the ground running. But Cataclysm didn't only change the aesthetics and the paths of our quest lines. It changed a hell of a lot more. It changed the game systems and it changed the culture within the community of World of Warcraft as well. And this is where Blizzard failed the hardest. Not because they took a risk and it didn't work out. I always applaud that. But because they didn't realize the game's shortcomings. They didn't realize the mistakes they made. And that's okay too. We all make mistakes. I've made mistakes. I've made a ton of mistakes with my YouTube channel. And I've made tenfold more mistakes in competitive situations of World of Warcraft. And if you haven't done the same, you're not being straightforward with me. We all make mistakes. But it took Blizzard a solid 6 or 7 years, not weeks, not months, not a couple of years, 6 or 7 years. If you had a baby when Blizzard made its first huge mistake with Cataclysm, that baby would be in 2nd or 3rd grade right now this September. That's how long it took Blizzard to realize the error of their ways. To support my case, because I'm sure some people will still disagree with me, but to support my case, just take a look at the sub numbers. I'm not talking about sub numbers that we all know have consistently set a trend of spiking through the roof every time a new XPAC comes out. Perfect example, WoW Classic. Perfect example, any given XPAC after vanilla for the next 2 or 3 months, boom, huge spike in subscribership. It's an ongoing trend. And then what I'm talking about is sustained growth. And here's a fact. World of Warcraft has not had 3 consecutive quarters of subscriber growth since Wrath of the Lich King. Now, let me say this. It's possible, it's very possible that in the beginning of Legion, we had 3 consecutive quarters of sub growth. From the PvE perspective of World of Warcraft, Legion was an epic XPAC. From a PvP perspective, it was utter trash. So it was either really good or really bad, depending on what your flavor of choice was. But I can say this, we didn't track the numbers on the subscribership during Legion. We don't have that information. Very possible within the first year of Legion subgrowth we saw 3 consecutive quarters. But if you put a gun to my head, what some people would love to do right now, and you said get it right, Lux, or I'm pulling the trigger, my guess is no, we didn't see 3 consecutive quarters of subgrowth in Legion. So the big question is, how did Cataclysm radically change WoW's culture and the game systems? And before I get into that, I do want to point out that the seeds for this change really started in Wrath of the Lich King, towards the end of Wrath of the Lich King, where 3 absolutely huge things occurred. First, Activision and Blizzard merged as one. And from that point going forward, Blizzard started to stop being the small town, Main Street kind of company and started being the big time Wall Street kind of company, which means they put profits over fun. Every single X-Pack after Wrath of the Lich King, it's been profits over fun. The second big change, LFG. LFG isn't without its good points, but there's a lot of bad points. And now, of course, this did occur during Wrath of the Lich King. I'm not talking about LFR, I'm talking about looking for groups spamming heroic dungeons. It had its good points, it had its bad points. One other bad point was frost badges were introduced, and then suddenly the gear that you got from the previous raid was obsolete, and the guy who just dinged level 80 could easily catch up to you. So that was good for the new player, not good for the hardcore player, and it's a very, very difficult balance to meet. But the big loss here, I think, is accountability, because people were no longer accountable for ninjaing loot. People were no longer accountable for screwing around in dungeons. People were no longer accountable for just being a general asshole in any given dungeon, because if you did that on your server where you eventually would have to sit and eat and play with these people again, you'd be ostracized from the community or forced to implement a name change. But now you could be as big of an asshole as you want to be, and there are no consequences. This marks a huge change in the WoW culture. And then the third big thing that occurred during Wrath of the Lich King, the Blizz Store. The introduction of the sparkly pony. Now, I wanted to show you a video, one of my favorite videos that actually inspired me to be a creator of YouTube content, from a guy called Yum Fries Wow. As a matter of fact, I'll link it in the description. I strongly suggest you check it out. But he has a very humorous look on the sparkly pony. I couldn't put it in the video because they used the Forrest Gump theme, which would slam me with a copyright strike, so I didn't do it. So I fully concede the fact that the seeds were planted in Wrath of the Lich King. But here's why I make a strong argument that Cataclysm is the benchmark where the culture and the game systems really took on a change. This is where Blizzard stopped writing with a pencil and started writing with a magic marker. This is where, let me give you this analogy. This is where Blizzard hit the point of no return in Cataclysm. It's like Columbus sailing across the Atlantic, taking a huge risk, finding the new world, and then telling everyone that helped him get there, hey, let's burn the ship so we can't go back. That's kind of what happened in Cataclysm. There was a point of no return for Blizzard. But not only did the game systems and the culture change, and we're going to talk more about the game systems in a few minutes, the lore even got a little bit quirky and murky with Deathwing. And here's a dose of reality. Whatever followed the Lich King, whatever boss followed the Lich King, Evil Emperor, whoever it is, it was going to be anticlimactic. But Deathwing was definitely quirky and a bit murky here with the lore. And let me explain. He goes on this pyrokinetic rampage, destroying the Eastern Kingdoms and all of Kalimdor. Not all of it, but bits and pieces here and there. We'll destroy Desolus, but we're not going to destroy Silithus. It just made no sense. I guess they were saving Silithus for BFA. But the point is, he could have destroyed the whole world if he really wanted to, but he stopped at a certain point, and Blizzard never explained why. They never explained why. He just kind of stopped. I mean, he was so pissed off. He was on this rampage like a 12-year-old whose parents took away his iPhone and his Xbox and just then disappeared. It just didn't make any sense, especially when he had the power and the wherewithal to really screw everything up. maybe that's reflective of what Blizzard was doing. They didn't want to completely blow everything up because they didn't want to take the full risk. Did they take a risk with Cataclysm? Absolutely, but they didn't want to take that full risk. Maybe that's reflective in the lore. I don't know. What do you guys think? And here's the interesting part. Not only does he kind of almost destroy everything, could have destroyed everything, but he goes into exile. But it's a self-imposed exile. And he kind of disappears for a little while. I mean, the plot holes in Cataclysm, the lore, like I said, it highly reflects the changes in the game systems and the culture that Cata delivered. And let's take a look at these game systems that Cata delivered. First and foremost, dynamic respawning. I went into Classic and I played a little bit. Now, granted, it was huge traffic this was during the beta, closed beta. And I get in there, maybe it was distress test, I don't remember. But I get in there, there's tons of people. And literally, it would take you 20 to 30 minutes to do a quest. So all of a sudden a cobalt would spawn and there would be like 40 people just pouncing on it. And sure, I could group up with people, but then what's the point? Then if I group up with people, I could just go off and have a cigarette and not do anything, and next thing you know, I'm level 3. I mean, you want to actually participate. You know, I understand that this is the rush of the beginning and the hype of everything, so yeah, but still 20 to 30 minutes, dynamic respawning. That happens to be something I greatly appreciate here and now. So that's the first thing that Cata introduced. The second thing, cross realms. Now, this isn't where cross realms were first introduced. This is where Blizzard essentially planted the seed. Cross realms were introduced during Mist of Pandaria, the following X-Pack, but the seeds were sort of planted here with the introduction of Battle.net and the whole idea of real ID, talking within talking in game with players that might be on a different server, blah 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 blah. I believe you were able to do that during Cata. So this is where the seeds were planted for the whole cross realm thing. This was the beginning of it. Blizzard also started to make, third thing is they started to make greater use of phasing in the game. It was done a little bit in Wrath of the Lich King, but it was very, very spotty and maybe in less than 6 spots. But in Cata, they started to do it a hell of a lot more. The talent trees in Cata were completely overhauled. They got rid of things that they felt were unnecessary. Now, right here now, I would be very honest with you people, I would sign off on those talent trees in Cata. I think that they were the best version of what Blizzard has ever done as far as talents go. As far as the system goes, I think as far as talents themselves go, the best system was in Mist of Pandaria. Let me know what your favorite system is as far as the mechanics of it, as well as the actual talents for your class. What was the best X-Pack? So things changed with the talents. Another big change. Obviously, looking for raid was a huge change. Xbox, a change that I happen to absolutely love and applauded and very much appreciated when it was introduced, and appreciated more and more to the point where I made a ton of Xbox videos that nobody watches. So yeah, some big changes, but there's more. Guild perks, for example, started to be a big thing. But this presented a bit of a problem because during Cata, I think towards the end of the Cata, Blizzard started to phase out 25-man raiding. I believe that occurred in Dragon Soul, not 100% sure, but it was starting to phase out towards the end of Cata. I saw a thread on this, looking on the forums, that 25-man raiding is dead, and this was it was dated towards the end of Cata, so I believe this is when it happened. I'm not a raider, so I'm not 100% sure, but the point is, you take away 25-man rating, so suddenly it's easier to field a team, but it's also a lot more common to leave people out. Now, sure, you could turn around and say, well, you have the A team, and then you have the B team, and then you have the C team, but let's be realistic. Nobody wants to be on the B team, and nobody in their right mind ever wants to be on the C team. Everybody wants to be on the A team. So it does create a ton of animosity within a guild. And then when you add guild perks into the game, all these smaller guilds that are trying to upstart, create a group, do this, do that, they're not going to attract the best talent because maybe they're a new guild. They might have some great people in the guild, but they don't have the perks. So people are going to go to those other guilds. So instead of having, say, 7 guilds with 100 members, now you have 2 guilds with 350 members, And instead of having 25-man raid teams, now you got 10-man raid teams. So this really started to be the point of origin where Blizzard started putting people on the bench. Now, as far as the culture of World of Warcraft all started to turn to quick and easy. Quick and easy. Rather than a prolonged gratification and a challenge, quick and easy was the new motto that the culture started to absorb. Also, Cataclysm was the beginning where solo gameplay was started to find some sense of promotion, particularly with LFR. And once again, two things occur here within the culture of World of Warcraft. One, there's no accountability. Now you can raid, and you could go on Hagar of the Stormbringer or Binder or whatever her name is. She's an orc chick. She's the 4th boss in Dragon Soul. And you could be a hunter, and you could be kind of a dick, basically, and click on aspect of the days and just daze everybody and wipe the raid. I mean, there are a lot of things, and I don't want to just point out hunters and make fun of them. I'm a hunter myself, so I'm allowed to do it. But the point is, you could just go into LFR and just be a total jerk off and mess everything up. You could be a complete troll. There's no accountability. So you took away a level of accountability with looking for group, and now you're taking another level of accountability away with the looking for raid feature. And I think the whole quick and easy part of the culture leads to a loss of impact of what you're doing within the game, and really a lack of meaning within the whole leveling process. Now this is where things really started to hit the gas pedal and accelerate and be like, okay, we got to get to endgame. We got to get to endgame. We saw quite a bit of that in Wrath of the Lich King, but it hit a whole other level in Cataclysm where people just saw leveling as an afterthought, especially after they got through the 1 through 60 zones that were just revamped. Once you got through that, it was like, I just got to get through Outland. I just got to get through Northrend as fast as possible, get to the Cata stuff, get through that really quick, and then I can start raiding. But here's where I sort of borderline lose it. And I just don't understand, and I need someone to explain this to me. Blizzard wanted nothing to do with WoW Classic. They end up recreating a game they wanted nothing to do with. Matter of fact, it's J. Allen Brack who said at Blizzcon in 2015, "You think you want it, but you really don't." And what did they do? They made him president of the company 3 years later. And, okay, great. He redeemed himself. He came out. He introduced WoW Classic. Vanilla's his favorite ice cream. Yeah, got it. Good for you. You are now within our graces. But I just don't get it. Blizzard did not want anything to do with WoW Classic. They did nothing to promote it outside of the WoW community. Now you're starting to see it pop up a little bit because they know they got some extra money, because this has been a monster of a success for Blizzard. I would estimate that there's somewhere between 3 to 5 million new subs alone going into WoW Classic. It's been huge. On Twitch, it has surpassed Fortnite, which is consistently shown about 100 to 120,000 viewers, consistently in the #1 slot for months and months and months and months. All of a sudden, WoW Classic pops in, bam, 500,000 viewers, over 500,000 viewers on average. Asmongold alone, 130,000 viewers on average, just blew away Fortnite. And then everybody else, over 500,000. At its peak, over 1 million viewers, which is knocking on record territory, if not breaking record territory on Twitch. And that's great. Celebrate all you want. You deserve it. But this is where I kind of get disconnected, and I really kind of get pissed, to be honest. Why is it that Live WoW has to suck? Why is it that the people that are engaged with Live WoW are not true WoW fans, regardless of the fact they might have played the game for 10 years or even 15 years? Maybe they played vanilla. Why is it that vanilla WoW is truly hard and mythic raiding and BFA is easy? Why is it? Why does it go to that extreme? Why do I have to see threads like, if you don't plan on raiding in Classic, don't even bother to log in and play, because you'll just block the queue for real hardcore raiders? Let me tell you something. WoW is not all about hardcore raiders. If you want to go in there and you want to experience the old world in its old glory, which I kind of want to do, go ahead and do it. It's not just about the raiders. And for me personally, listen, there are two things that are a huge roadblock for me for WoW Classic. I'd love to trek through the old world, level up a priest or a warlock. I'd absolutely love to do it. Revisit those old zones. I got a taste of them in Wrath of the Lich King. I'd like to taste them in their truest form and trek through them. Old spells that are gone from the game, relive them, be awesome, absolutely incredible. Gear up, meet new people. The environment would probably be a little bit friendlier, but keep in mind that the environment is the social aspect. You control that, not Blizzard, not the game, not WoW Classic, not BFA. It is up to you as the individual. So if you want to reach out to other people and team up with them and create a community and be a leader, there's nothing stopping you from doing it in WoW Classic, and there's certainly nothing stopping you from doing it in BFA. This is where I kind of lose the disconnect. I just don't have the time to commit to PvP, and unless I commit to PvP and play it 14 hours, 16 hours a day, I'm not gonna be able to make an impact in PvP and get the gear, because I'm not into raiding. And I certainly am not into raids that I farmed 100 times over to get transmog gear. And I know the fights and I know the bosses, there's no surprises, and it's just not for me. It's just not for me. That's the bottom line. WoW Classic can be great and retail WoW will be great. Now here I am on some level defending and being a champion of BFA. And make no mistake, I think BFA is the worst X-Pack that Blizzard has produced. It is utter digital trash. I can't stand it. I mean, even in Warlords of Draenor the fun, I found playing a Shadow Priest absolutely fun and amazing, and that kept me engaged and kept me subscribed. Blizzard even turned around, threw a false flag ban on me, and I still re-upped and bought the game and played it. That's how much I still kind of liked Warlords of Draenor the fun. If Blizzard banned me tomorrow for BFA, I wouldn't cry. I'd just do something else on my channel and move on. I do not like BFA. I am dying for the next X-Pack to come out. Keep in mind, words are cheap. You could say all you want about not liking something or about liking something, but when you put it into action, it takes on a whole other meaning. What is it, $1 or $1.50 buys you an entire New York Times? Plenty of words there. Plenty of words there. Words are cheap, that's the point. But when you take action and you put action behind those words and you unsub like I did in BFA for a period of time, probably a total of 4 or 5 months time, 2 different times I unsubbed from it, that's how much I hate BFA. But I am extraordinarily optimistic that Blizzard is going to respond in the next installment of Live WoW, the next X-Pack to follow BFA. Blizzcon is going to be a lot of good news about the next X-Pack. I truly believe that, and make no mistake, if you had to label me as anything, I am a cynic. I am a critic of WoW. I've eviscerated WoW many times over. The other thing I find a lot of these fanboys who are on the fringes, the guys who are on the fringes that think that you're not a true WoW fan unless you play WoW Classic, the guys who think that WoW Classic is 100 times better than BFA and whatever X-Pack is going to follow BFA, that WoW Classic is the truest, greatest game ever made, and it very well might be. It very well might be. You could say how great it is all you want, but that doesn't mean everything else is shit. That's where I draw the line. And this kind of mentality is something that I've seen over the years in World of Warcraft when it came to the WoW killers. Very, very similar kind of talk. Very, very similar kind of narrative, where Age of Conan is going to destroy World of Warcraft. Did it do it? Didn't even make a dent. Guess what? Rift is now the game that is going to destroy World of Warcraft. Did it do it? No, it didn't. Didn't even make a dent. How about Star Wars The Old Republic? That MMO is sure to kill WoW. Didn't happen. Guild Wars 2. That's going to kill WoW. Trust me. That's the true WoW killer. Did it happen? No, didn't do it. Wait a second, I got another card. It's called Wildstar. That's gonna kill WoW. No question about it, that's gonna kill WoW. Wildstar is not even around anymore. I had a better idea. You know what the real WoW killer is gonna be? It's gonna be Blade and Soul. Blade and Soul is gonna destroy WoW. Didn't do it. Hey, Black Desert. Black Desert is going to destroy WoW. Hey, the rebirth of Final Fantasy is going to destroy. None of them destroyed WoW. Maybe put a little bit of a dent in, but nobody destroyed it. And I get that same frenzy with the fringe WoW Classic fanboys. And you know, and it's the same exact thing with when they were talking about the WoW killers. WoW sucks, and the WoW killers are gonna destroy it. And what do? New X pack, and they resub to WoW. Actions speak louder than words. Words are cheap. But people tend to forget that the people who drive to work and park their cars in the parking lot park in that same lot. The guys who create BFA and the next X pack after that, and the guys who recreated Classic. They park in the same parking lot, they go to work in the same building, and Blizzard, make no mistake, and you're gonna maybe hear this first, Blizzard is going to answer the call with the next X pack that follows BFA, and it is going to be amazing. It is going to be awesome, because if it's not, I'm done with WoW. If it's not something I find myself excited with, I am absolutely done with it. Because there are lessons to be learned here. And if Blizzard doesn't start looking at the ledger and checking into things and seeing what can we learn from this experience with WoW Classic? What is it that spawned this movement to want this kind of gameplay? What is it that the players love? And where is it that we made mistakes going forward? By the way, that's another video for another day currently in progress. So Blizzard is going to learn from their mistakes. The reins are going to be off, and they're going to take another Cataclysm type of risk to the point that it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. That's all I can say. I think that they can go through all the zones and change everything up, and nobody's going to bitch and complain about it, because if they do, they could go to pure WoW and play WoW Classic. And I think it's the perfect out for them. And I think they're really, really going to come out with something that is going to dazzle people, is going to be amazing to people, and they're going to break that ridiculous formula that worked 5-6 years ago but doesn't work anymore. We'll introduce a new class, and we'll introduce a new race, and another 10 levels, maybe only 5 levels, I'm not really sure. We're going to introduce a bunch of new dungeons, we're going to introduce a new feature that nobody likes and nobody wants to be bought. They're going to come up with something different. They're going to come up with something better. This is coming from one of the hardest critics of World of Warcraft. If you don't believe me, there's over 700 videos that you can pick and choose from, and you can see that I have not been kind to Blizzard, and I have not been kind to World of Warcraft. I've eviscerated them at every possible corner. I've been as cynical as possible. But when it comes to the next X pack, I strongly believe Blizzard is going to respond. You're not going to sit there and say, wow, Classic is so much better. You can say Classic is really good. This one is really good. I have a quarterback controversy here. I don't know which one to play. Because right now, if people had to choose BFA or Classic, I get the choice for Classic. I truly, truly do. I'm not a big fan of BFA. Matter of fact, I've been unsubbed for maybe a total of 4 or 5 months throughout BFA. Currently, I am subbed. I just don't find it engaging. That's another video for another day, why I don't like BFA. But I kind of want to move away from those please change WoW, this is negative about WoW stuff, because I think WoW and Blizzard finally will get that message. And we're going to see things for the better. This is Luxley saying, whatever it is by you, morning, afternoon, or night, make it epic.